Welcome everyone to this interesting session on navigating the redefined way of working. Joining us for this session is Jamie Laura Rosario, Head of Human Resource at CIMB Singapore. Jamie joined CIMB Group Human Resource in 2015 as Director of GHR Strategy and Program Management Office, where her focus was on leading the Transformation 2018 people-related projects for the firm. She then moved outside of HR into strategy with CIMB Niaga, Indonesia, where she focused on setting up the transformation office as well as partnering with the management team to drive and deliver CIMB Niaga's bank-wide transformation program over 2.5 years involving more than 600 employees. More recently, she has taken on the role as Head of Human Resources with CIMB Singapore. Her unique background in both management consulting as well as internal corporate roles in transformation as well as HR operations gives her a balance of what is ideal versus what can and will work in reality. She has a passion for people and for driving change on the ground. In this session, Jamie will touch upon COVID-19 and the Great Resignation. What do these mean for organizations in this unprecedented era? For organizations, speed to redefine the new way of working is key to navigate this phenomenon. And let's hear from Jamie what is CIMB doing in that aspect. Welcome, Jamie, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Shweta. Good afternoon to all those tuning in, and special thanks to the organizers, the EconomicTimes, for inviting me as a guest speaker for this two-day Future Forward Southeast Asia Summit. I'll be sharing my take, as mentioned, on how organizations need to navigate the redefined way of working moving forward. So it goes without saying that COVID-19 has really changed the reality for many of us. As the world became a quieter place and people spent more time in isolation, allowing for a lot more reflection, we started to view, value, and weigh time, personal relationships, social relationships, and work relationships in a very different light. From a personal relationship standpoint, some were separated from family for months. Some stayed in with family 24 hours a day. Social relationships came to a halt, and from a corporate standpoint, the world embarked on a global scale work from home experiment. So it's no surprise that as the world recovered from COVID, from an employment perspective, we were struck by another form of pandemic, the Great Resignation. More than 42% of resignees in recent times feel that the pandemic is one of the main reasons influencing their decision to leave their jobs. But why are they quitting? Globally, research from Adecco Group suggests that there are top 5 reasons people are quitting their job in this phenomena called the Great Resignation. Contrary to popular belief, it's not about the money. The top reason why is toxic corporate culture. Toxic corporate culture is up to 10 times higher than dissatisfaction with pay. The leading elements contributing to toxic cultures include the lack of empathy, workers feeling disrespected, and unethical behavior. The second reason is job insecurity and reorganization. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. The corporate world has a history of restructuring and laying off people when business is not going well. And COVID was no exception. Employees are less inclined to stay if they feel low levels of job security. The third reason, high levels of innovation. This one may take you by surprise. Isn't innovation and change a good thing? Don't employees want to be ever learning, ever curious, ever innovating? The attrition rates of the 3 most innovative Culture 500 companies, NVIDIA, Tesla, and SpaceX, are 3 standard deviations higher than their peers. What it comes down to is, despite innovation, change, and transformation being really exciting, it's also quite stressful and can result in employee burnout. The fourth reason why, failure to recognize performance. Employees are more likely to leave companies that fail to differentiate performance when it comes to recognition and rewards. The emphasis here is not on the quantum of monetary compensation, but rather the differentiation and recognition. It is both the lack of recognition as well as misplaced recognition, i.e. tolerance of underperformance that leads to resentment, which leads to resignation. The fifth reason, poor response to COVID-19. Over the past 2 years, companies had a lot of choices to make when it came to responding to COVID-19 pandemic. Companies that failed to prioritize their employees' health and well-being when they needed it the most saw higher rates of attrition. So that was on a global scale. Closer to home in Singapore, the research actually suggests that of those who had resigned recently, 52% no longer felt engaged in their roles. 28% were seeking different career prospects. 34% wanted to take a break for mental wellness, and 34% were quitting toxic work environments. So, what are some of the trends for the future of work post COVID? First, hybrid work is here to stay. Employees have higher expectations for work flexibility in terms of when and where they work. According to Gartner's research, if organizations were to go back to a fully on site arrangement, it would risk losing up to 39% of its workforce. With hybrid work, turnover is expected to increase as the emotional cost of leaving the organization is lower. Hence, the challenge for organizations will be about connecting hybrid workers with the larger purpose of the organization. Well-being of employees will take center stage. 70% of organizations made additional investments in employee well-being the last 2 years and will continue to make employee well-being part of its employee value proposition to attract and retain talent moving forward. Diversity, equity, and inclusion could worsen. 76% of managers today say that on-site employees are more likely than work-from-home employees to be promoted. Considering that women are more likely to leverage flexible work, proximity bias can become a recipe for inequity moving forward. The role of leadership is king. The manager-employee relationship has always been critical, but in the future of work post-COVID, leaders at all levels of the organization will play an even more critical role as they are the immediate and direct extension of the firm in a much more distributed and dispersed workforce. These people managers at all levels of the organization will need to align, communicate, engage, motivate, demonstrate empathy for employees to deliver work outputs and provide meaning to the work their team does every single day on the ground. Lastly, Gen Z wants in-person work experiences. Although the younger generation is comfortable with tech and hybrid working, having finished their education and entered the workforce during the pandemic, the experience has left them something to be desired, and they are looking for quality work connections whilst maintaining a flexible schedule in their career moving forward. Shorter work weeks may be a new employee value proposition in the future. In 2019, Microsoft experimented by offering employees 3-day weekends for a month. The move boosted productivity by 40% and resulted in more efficient work. Belgium, as a nation, introduces a 4-day work week with no loss of salary for employees who want it. In the UK, Cambridge and Oxford University researchers kick off a 6-month pilot in June this year with 100% of the pay for 80% of the time, involving 70 UK companies and 3,000 employees. In time to come, we may see that the shorter work week could become the new norm. In light of these post-pandemic trends, companies have already started to review their policies and practices to better accommodate the new ways of working. We have all heard about Zoom-free Fridays, limiting scheduling calls outside of working hours and weekends, and keeping the lunch hours sacred. Most companies have introduced some form of reimbursement for staff to set up their home office and work from anywhere weeks up to 4 weeks annually. And as companies move towards making hybrid work arrangements permanent, many have also put in place initiatives to support the return to office. Some have taken the carrot approach to encourage employees back in. Returning workers are greeted with drink parties, swag bags, return to office care packs, complimentary classes, and lots of happy talk about how the office should be fun. Google treated its staff to a concert by Lizzo, a Grammy Award-winning artist where thousands of employees attended. Some organizations, on the other hand, have taken the stick approach. Many companies, including Google, have asked for their workers to turn up for a fixed period of time, most commonly 3 days a week. There are also whispers that there is an informal Zoom ceiling on workers who stay at home rather than pull their weight in the office. The British government, in its campaign to get stay-at-home civil servants back to the office, compiled a league table of departments by occupancy rates in the office. Some have also taken a more passive-aggressive approach, leaving Fox-polite notes on employees' desks saying, "Sorry you were out when I visited. I look forward to seeing you in the office very soon." Yet, bullying is no more likely than bribery to be successful. We have to come to accept that returning to how things were pre-COVID is just not happening. And flexible hybrid work arrangements are here to stay. But why the resistance to return to office? Is it the fear of contracting COVID? Is it the time and rising costs of commuting to the office? Whilst those reasons may be true, it may not be completely convincing. From what we can see, people are mostly out and about. Traffic on the roads have made a comeback. Restaurants are booked out. Flights and travels have pretty much returned to normal. Is it better work-life balance and mental health? Maybe. But on the other hand, some also feel that there is lack of boundaries by working from home. And working completely remote has also led to mental health issues for some employees. The truth is, the clash between employees and organizations over returning to work is more than just a struggle over commuting and convenience. It is a clash over the meaning of work. Organizations really need to rethink what their employees do when they are physically in the office. These times need to be carefully curated by both the firm and the people managers purposefully and intentionally for collaboration, camaraderie, collective problem solving, and connecting emotionally with each other and the firm. Pre-COVID, circa 2018-2019, if you recall, much of the hype of the future of work was around how the robots were coming and would soon enough be replacing the need for humans in jobs. There was so much of hype of future workforce, how employees have to be multi-skilled, fourth IR ready, multitasking, and the focus was on employability of employees or risks being made redundant by robotics or artificial intelligence. Whilst those elements will continue to be there, the real test now for employers will be to shift our thinking from employee employability to employer ability. So what do we mean by that? Okay. If we were to view employers' employability from an employee lens, employees will begin to assess organizations on a few interconnected domains. The first being collective purpose. As employees recontemplate the meaning of life, they will also be asking, what is the meaning of the work I do? So organizations must truly be able to articulate its reason for being. What are we trying to be as an organization? And can our employees connect with that purpose? Leadership. The next thing employees are looking for as they are now assessing organizations that they spend 8 hours of their lives with are the leaders. Are the leaders making the right decisions that are aligned towards the organization to fulfill its purpose or reason for being? Work demands and enablement. Employees are now saying, if it is so difficult for me to do my job or get things done in this organization, I will go look for a company where it's easy for me to do what I need to do. Basically, if your organization's processes and systems make it so hard for them to do their job, they would rather do the same job somewhere else. They are looking for a place where they can thrive, not merely survive. Health and well-being. The pandemic also brought the focus on health and well-being of employees to the forefront. So beyond financial rewards and medical policies, etc., employees will be looking for organizations who genuinely demonstrate care for their employees. After this global work from home experiment where the lines between work and home were diminished, employees will specifically look for employers that offer better boundaries and flexibility to safeguard their sanity. Personal growth and engagement. It's been a pretty dim 2 years globally. People are looking to be inspired in a reality that lacks inspiration. Organizations that make the effort to provide that outside-in development and exposure for their people will win. Workspace tools. Employees will also be assessing whether the workplace is safe and what efforts are organizations making to ensure the workplace, which is now both the office and the home, is ergonomic. Also, given that hybrid work arrangements have become the norm, organizations must ensure that their office space is able to cater accordingly. As employees now view the physical workplace as truly a place to meet in real life, the new workplace has to provide something a WebEx cannot, and it has to be worthy to come back to. As you can see, all these domains are interrelated and comes together to provide overall workplace well-being. As such, workplace well-being won't be a HR or admin or strategy-owned matter alone, but also something the leaders have to keep top of mind in our day-to-day managing of work, job processes, as well as the relationships that we have with our peers and our staff. We have to ask ourselves, are we improving or detracting from workplace well-being in everything that we do? With that in mind, we at CIMB took a holistic approach in designing workplace well-being and increasing our employer ability to navigate the new future of work. To build a better sense of collective purpose, we strive to improve top-down communication and engagement with all staff. We conducted hybrid town halls where staff in the office and at home can both interact virtually during those sessions. We also designed quarterly senior leadership forums to get the senior management to get together, realign our direction collectively as a team. Key updates and highlights are also shared during these sessions. In addition, we also developed the CEO's monthly newsletter to keep our staff informed on our achievements, milestones, events, and so on. At CIMB, we also focus a lot more on leadership. We believe that these are the people who make or break the team on a daily basis. As we speak, we are planning for a top team alignment workshop to be conducted in view of the resumption of activities in Singapore. We do believe that social, face-to-face interaction does foster a rather personal touch to build trust and empathy with each other. We also rolled out bottom-up feedback for all our people managers end of last year to solicit feedback from the staff with regards to their respective managers. This will set a baseline for all levels of people managers to continuously strive to do better as leaders. When we were redesigning our workplace, we also took the opportunity to review our existing policies on flexible work arrangement. We used to have in place telecommuting policy where staff can work from home a agreed number of days, and also staggered work hours to support staff with personal commitment with their kids, other parents, and so on. During the lockdown, we were operating at about 20 to 40% capacity in office. With that tested environment, we then had discussions with the respective head of departments on their workable work arrangements in what we call peacetime post-COVID. To think ahead, to mitigate favoritism and unfairness, we identified the jobs, not the incumbents, that are considered flexible and non-flexible roles. For flexible roles, we collectively implemented a 3-day work in office policy for those roles. We also took the opportunity to redesign our new office with smart office features. To better enable hybrid work arrangements and collective problem solving, we introduced hot desking, new collaboration spaces, and created open space workstations so that interdepartments can co-mingle with colleagues from other departments. For individual calls, employees can also use soundproof solo and duo phone booths. Wellness has always been and will continue to be our priority here at CIMB. We have intensified our efforts in wellness at work to focus on these key pillars: mental wellness, nutrition, and physical fitness. We have also revised our flexi benefits to include more wellness-related items that are claimable for our staff. So, in summary, as organizations navigate the new way of working, it might be useful to reflect on the very definition of what an organization means. It's an organized group of people with a shared purpose. In the new way of working, organizations that can ignite and align its now increasingly hybrid workforce on a collective purpose will win. As such, employers need to recognize that, firstly, People will no longer go to the office to do things that they can do just as easily at home. In the age of distributed computer power, organizations really need to rethink what work really needs to be done in the office. The meaning of work should center around solving collective problems, collaborating, brainstorming, co creation, building a sense of camaraderie, sharing, tapping, and building on tacit knowledge of others. More so now than ever, organizations need to understand that corporate culture and a collective sense of purpose is not by default, but by design. Assuming that corporate culture will be formed simply by putting people in the same office space is a futile concept. Whilst leadership has always been critical, more so now with a dispersed workforce, your people managers are the organization's key lever to get right, as it is these leaders that create meaning and give purpose to the teams on the ground every single day. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Once again, thank you for your time and for tuning in.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much for that wonderfully insightful session. And indeed, you summed it up very well that, from the focus has shifted from employability to employability. That should be the key takeaway for all of us here. Thank you once again for joining us. Coming up next is another exciting session on what are the 4 pillars to create a flourishing workplace culture. Stay tuned. Thank you.